Good evening. A third NHS hospital trust in the South East is on the brink of being put into special measures. We can exclusively reveal the trust, which runs the Eastbourne District General Hospital and the Conquest in St Leonard's, is already rated inadequate. And this programme understands that it's failed to improve and that at a meeting tomorrow it's going to be put into special measures. It means that 3 of our hospital trusts, serving 1.5 million people, have the worst possible sanction. In addition to East Sussex, East Kent and Medway Maritime are already in special measures. Our health correspondent Mark Norman reports.
Already rated as inadequate, the East Sussex Trust that runs hospitals in Hastings and Eastbourne has spent months discussing what happens next. At a meeting tomorrow, we expect a decision to be taken to put the trust into special measures.
I called for special measure several months ago. Why? Because this would then bring in the additional resources, the new leadership that our local hospital desperately needs.
So do you see it as a good thing?
I do see it as a good thing, particularly if that is what is reflecting the experience at the hospital. And that kind of transparency is what will help us to move into the future and see services then transformed.
When it received its inadequate rating in March, the Care Quality Commission highlighted waiting times not meeting government targets, staff afraid to speak out, and a disconnect between the board and the staff. In May of this year, East Sussex and Eastbourne councils passed a vote of no confidence in the hospital management. The local council even asked for the trust to be placed in special measures. And in July, the chief executive resigned while the trust apologised for patients' details being found on a street. Campaigners who fought for years against changes to services at the Trust say they're pleased at the prospect of it going into special measures.
I think that the previous CQC report absolutely highlighted exactly what we've been saying over a number of years. And whereas normally you'd think staff wouldn't want a hospital to go into special measures, actually, I think they would welcome it. They want a change.
They need to give the people that work there a lot more training now. That's what I think anyway.
It's just got worse and worse. Even though they've extended it, their hospital, it's just got worse and worse.
Well, I can't fault any of the service that I've had. So they've been absolutely brilliant.
As a decision to put East Sussex into special measures moves closer, it will join East Kent and Medway and 3 other South East trusts requiring improvement. Are we watching the NHS in the South East slipping into crisis? Mark Norman, BBC South East Today, Eastbourne.
So what does it mean when a trust is placed into special measures? Well, it happens when a hospital isn't providing the quality of care which patients deserve and when there's concern that the management of the hospital can't fix the problems on their own. The trust can be partnered with a high-performing hospital, given a rescue plan and provided with staff training. And if after a year the quality of care has improved, the hospital comes out of special measures. The Care Quality Commission stresses that you are still able to use your hospital if it's in special measures and that they are monitoring the care that's being provided. Well, our health correspondent Mark Norman is outside the Eastbourne District General Hospital for us now. Mark, this, as we've heard, is the 3rd hospital trust in the South East to be put in special measures. This is a worrying situation, isn't it?
It is. That's a total of 6 hospitals, and as we said earlier, 1.5 million of us with a hospital that's struggling. Yes, they get extra scrutiny, they get extra support from the NHS, but of course it can damage their reputation and damage their ability to recruit and retain their very best staff. As you said earlier, they should come out of special measures within 12 months. But this week I've been at Medway Maritime, where they've been in special measures almost 2 years, and even this morning they were diverting ambulances away from A&E. This is a long, hard slog for trusts like this in special measures, and all the while they have to keep caring for patients like us.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, we're joined now by the MP for Lewis, Maria Caulfield. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Your constituents obviously use hospitals in East Sussex. How worried are you by this development?
Well, I agree with my colleague Caroline Ansell, the MP for Eastbourne, that this is actually good news, and it's something we've been calling for a number of months now. I've spoken to the Secretary of State for Health, I've spoken to health ministers, lobbying to get this trust into special measures.
That's quite some spin, though, isn't it, that it's good news to put a hospital into special measures?
I mean, I'm a nurse, and I've worked in some of the best hospitals in the country, and actually, when I've been talking to patients and staff, this hospital was clearly suffering from poor management, so we needed these resources that special measures would bring.
Darren Grayson, who was the chief executive, stepped aside earlier this summer. Stuart Welling is the chairman. He hasn't. Is it time now for him to go?
Well, I can't comment on Stuart Welling's position, but what I can say is that they are advertising for a new chief executive as we speak, and we do need these extra resources that special measures would bring. And we've seen from other hospitals up and down the country that have been put in special measures the turnaround that is possible. And now some of those hospitals, a year later, are providing excellent care, and that's what we want for patients in my constituency in Lewis.
2 other trusts in the South East that we were talking about in Mark's report there are also in special measures at the moment. People will be getting worried that there is something systemically wrong with the NHS. Is there enough money being put into the system?
This isn't a question of money at all. Are you talking to a nurse here who's worked in the NHS for 20 years? And there's been a legacy. We've seen from the Francis report, which looked at the national picture, that there has been poor management in the NHS for too long. And we are now dealing with that because it's no longer acceptable for that to happen. So, while it does seem a bit strange to welcome a trust going into special measures, we desperately need those extra resources for our patients and staff who work so hard providing care day in, day out.
OK, Maria Caulfield, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
The UK